Yikes, dude. So the video that I was working on had a bit of an issue. There were some files that got corrupted and it was gonna be a while between uploads, which is why I'm here making a shorter, unscripted, not even using the green screen unless I'm doing a gag like this type video. And honestly, it's fine enough that it got corrupted at this time because I did have a little bit to say about Summer Game Fest, and this gives me the opportunity to kind of talk about that. I feel like the showcase really reinforces the thing that I said back when I think the Game Awards happened last year, which is that I think that we have way too many showcases for our own good. Like, think about it. Nintendo has a bunch of directs every single year, Sony has a bunch of state of plays every single year, and on top of that, they usually have one big showcase. It used to be like an E3 thing, but now they just have like solo showcases where they put a bunch of games at the same time. Microsoft has a yearly showcase. Sometimes EA, Ubisoft, and Square decide, hey, we'll also throw one, and then Geoff has 3 by himself. Lord help us when we have to deal with all of this Summer Game Fest stuff on top of E3 as well. And on that topic, a lot of people were saying that they miss E3 now that Summer Game Fest is here, and I feel like it's a bit of a heel turn from when we were all saying that E3 was dying, which, I mean, to be fair, it kind of was. But I think the reason that people look back on it fondly, as cringy and weird and uneven as it always was that it always contained everything into such a short period of time, which just makes things more exciting. When everyone's just getting together for 3 or 4 days, you're seeing all this back to back, it's just a lot cooler. There was a lot of discussion online about the fact that Summer Game Fest suffered from the fact that the games industry is kind of dry on announcements right now. Obviously, COVID is still affecting stuff that would have been announced right now probably started production during COVID, so that's not ideal. And on top of that, announcements happen in cycles. Sometimes you'll get a lot of stuff, and then the next year you'll get updates on that, and then the next year there'll be a huge lull and nothing happens, and the next year's gonna be crazy again. So it's not really Summer Game Fest's fault that there wasn't much to show here, but I actually strongly disagree with that. I don't think we're running out of good announcements. The State of Play last week had a lot of good stuff. Microsoft is about to unload like 30 different games on us. Devolver showed off a bunch of highly polished indies yesterday. And on top of that, we still need updates on stuff like Suicide Squad or Wonder Woman or Silksong or like the entirety of Sony's 2023. The only thing we really know is Spider-Man 2. I think Wolverine is 2024, so like, what are they doing for the rest of the year? And obviously the response is, well, they're not just gonna give that away, they're gonna keep that for their own showcase, and that's exactly my point. It's not like there's not that much to talk about, there's just not enough to go around to the obscene amount of events that we have now. While I love Geoff Keighley and he was never not gonna make the show, I don't think you can excuse it by saying it wasn't his fault there wasn't too much to announce right now, because he is making the call to organize 3 massive 2 to 3 hour showcases himself amidst all the individual ones, 2 of which are separated by less than 3 months. Think about it like this: if you're over at a friend's house and there's barely any food left and you invite a bunch of other people, it's not your fault that there's not much to eat, but it is kind of your fault if everyone starts starving once they get there. I don't want to go too in depth into this because I did talk about it in my previous video, but I think that Summer Game Fest and Gamescom should just be more about hands-on demos. They should be kind of a brand name that you use to umbrella term a bunch of different events, which is kind of what they are right now, but I don't think that they need to have their own kickoff showcases. If Keighley wants to do multiple big events in a year, then maybe partner with Sony or Microsoft and bring the style and sets and guests to a studio who have the content to back it up. And yes, that defeats the purpose of the everything under one roof mantra that Geoff loves, but you can do that at the Game Awards. You don't need to have 3 of the same show at different points in the year. Have your one big full Geoff production and then co-produce content for the summer. An interesting thing that I noticed about this year's Summer Game Fest is that usually the everything under one roof goal creates these shows that have a lot of dips and they try to appeal to everyone, which means that nobody actually winds up getting appealed to specifically. But this year there were groups that were appealed to, it was just not what you'd expect. Once we turned like the halfway point, we saw 3 or 4 anime titles back to back, which isn't like a crime or anything, but they all melted into nothing because they were so close in proximity and style and substance. And a similar thing happened at the beginning as well. Talk about Summer Dead Space Fest, dude. How was the Dead Space remake not even here, and we haven't seen many games like this in years, and somehow after watching this showcase, I'm sick of Dead Space. To not only announce so many similar looking games, but to also not space them out over the show was a weird move. Even when the games weren't stylistically similar to Dead Space, they had a trailer that gave off a similar feel, like Aliens Dark Descent, which is top down but had that third-person space horror cinematic. Speaking of cinematics, am I crazy or did Geoff completely lie to us when he said that there was going to be a lot more gameplay focus in this one? Because there was like 20 minutes of gameplay and 21 of those were Modern Warfare 2, and by the way, what a bad showing for that game. Like, I get it, Call of Duty, it's not going to be anything surprising. We already know what it's going to look like 3 years before it releases, because it's probably going to look like the game that came out 3 years ago, but still. At least with Cold War, we had like a cool set piece, and it was kept a little bit shorter. This time around, it was like somebody was just playing Call of Duty level 7,912. This time there's a boat, and it went on for forever. I also just have to mention the section with The Rock, because I think it's genuinely both sad and hilarious that I can't tell who was paying for that segment to be there. Like, he talks about Lord knows what at the beginning, and then he transitions into Fortnite, and then he talks about Black Adam and the trailer shows, but twice, he also plugs the drink in his hand. So who's paying for this? Epic? WB? The drink company? Did all three of them conspire to make this? I don't know. The man didn't even have a script, for God's sake. He was just off the dome segueing all of these brands as if advertising products has been hardwired into his brain or something. It was unreal. I genuinely think that he just plugs his products to real life friends, because I cannot imagine this man having a normal human interaction after what I just witnessed. I feel like the showcase really showed Geoff trying to check all the boxes that he's basically standardized for all of his events at this point, but there weren't enough checks for all of the items, so he kind of like tilted them in the weird way so they crossed over with other ones, and somebody would like squint at it and be like, is that one, did you fill that one in? What I'm saying is that Geoff Keighley is the type of person to put this on a true or false exam. I'm not gonna sue him for it, but I'm not gonna pretend like I don't know what he's doing either. With Sony committing to the big showcases and smaller state of plays format, Nintendo not budging from directs, and E3 planning on coming back next year, I wish we just toned down the amount of fringe showcases that don't necessarily need to exist. Whenever one is announced, I do get excited, but the only ones that ever live up to that excitement are the big yearly Sony showcases, the big yearly Microsoft showcases, Devolver stuff, and sometimes the Game Awards. They're all cannibalizing each other, and it's getting more apparent every single year. Like, dude, Devolver has one showcase a year, and they put out pure bliss, and they just move on. They had 5 games to show off yesterday, and I'm not kidding, 4 of them were better than anything at Summer Games Fest. I'm not even trying to be cute here. I'm 100% serious. Go watch that showcase if you haven't. It's actually amazing. End of the day, I don't see these events going anywhere. I'm kind of talking to the wind at this point, but I hope that Geoff Keighley realizes at some point that you don't need to have the same kind of showcase every single time. And on top of that, you don't need 3 of them every single year with just a couple of odd differences. I love the guy. I want him to continue to change our industry because he's really good at what he does, but he is helping worsen a problem that comes back and bites himself in the ass. Anyways, sorry again for the quicker, less structured video. Like I said, I just didn't want too long to go between uploads, and I did have some stuff to say about Summer Game Fest, so hopefully you still enjoyed. If you did, leave a like. If you're new here, check out my other stuff, leave a sub, all that fun stuff, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.